Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Our quote of the day is as follows. Faith is not about everything turning out okay. It's about being okay no matter how things turn out. Okay, gotcha. Good morning. And here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. What a good-looking day out there. Holy buckets. Oh, good morning. There is the lovely voice of Kate Smith, and God Bless America. Good morning. I'm Zeb Bell at Zeb at the Ranch, and brought to you by our major sponsor here, Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, and they are also Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Get rid of your garbage. 734-6969. And now, streaking through the hallways on her Harley motorcycle and coming to a screeching halt at the desk and saying,
"Good morning."
You know, I'm always afraid when you leave an open-ended sentence like that, people are going to go, "What do you want me to say?" You did well.
For lack of words, I'm never for a lack.
You did well.
Thank you, sir.
You know, we're coming into a busy time, and that's the elections. And I just want to urge everybody, please plant the seed right here. Go vote. I got into a rather heated debate a little bit yesterday.
Oh.
And what good is it going to do? Don't tell me that. Don't ever tell me that. Lazy, un-Americans are the ones that do not vote. And that is the only way I can put it.
Well, this is the way I put it. If you don't get out there and vote, then you do not have the right to complain. And so if you're going to be complaining and not voting, don't even talk to me.
This is a critical election.
Yeah,
we are in critical times. And I just absolutely will not put up with that verbiage. And it's nothing more than a cop-out, and it's an excuse not to be an American.
Amen.
There you go. Now, do we have a pledger?
We have Rotten on for the pledge and Mr. Michael Rogers on for the...
Very good, Harley girl. Thank you so much. Please, Rotten, go ahead with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Very nice to hear from you this morning. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
God bless you, sir. Thank you. And right now, we're going to have the weather brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design. These are wonderful people that have so much going on. Holy cow. I'm telling you, they got repurposed dressers. Yes, go in and see all the repurposed furniture they've got. And don't forget that they can meet or beat any price on flooring. They're being very honest about it. Meet or beat any price on flooring at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door, 678-6945. And right now, here is Michael Rogers' weather.
Hey, good morning. Not a lot to talk about today because it's going to be nice again today and tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. And it was nice yesterday, and temperatures remain the same. And all the weather action is about a good 8.5 hours south of me, because I'm in Vegas, and folks in Arizona are going to be picking up that dying hurricane moisture. So another pretty nice fall day in the Magic Valley neighborhood. 75 for the highest, even about 59, 60 for the overnight low. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
The best weatherman in the world and a great photographer, too, MichaelRogersWeather.com. Thank you, Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley, bringing you the weather right off the bat when we start the program. Look for their blue doors, 678-6945. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. And we've got a lot to talk about. We've got some outstanding guests this morning. And we have Doug Johnson from Colorado, from Austin, Texas. We have a sociology professor, and that's Randy Givens. We have an economist from Washington, D.C., Stephen Moore. And then, back by popular demand, and I get more emails on this man, we're going to have at 10:30 a very interesting conversation again with former CIA operative Brian Fairchild. Do not miss it. He's going to be talking about Leon Panetta's interview last night, and he's going to be talking about ISIS here in the United States. Don't forget Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. Hello, Scott. Hello, crew. And if you've got sprinklers for your lawn that have not been blown out, okay, don't let the weather fool you. Yeah, it's nice. It's going to be 75, but then all of a sudden, kaboom, the temperatures are going to hit the bottom of the floor, and if you haven't had those sprinklers blown out, they're going to freeze up, and then you've got all kinds of headaches going into next year. Don't let that happen. Call them at 438-2485. 438-2485, Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service, and the number 438-2485. And by the way, they can properly prune all your trees too. So get a hold of them today. Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. Really, really nice folks. And by the way, when you talk about nice folks, you have to incorporate in that conversation our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Now, it's still Hats Off to Farmers Month. And Keith, when we did the remote back there on 911, very emphatic about how much they treasure and value farming and agriculture in this area. So please, farmers, know you've got a friend there at Ramsey Heating and Electric where you can throw that dirty old cap away, get a brand new one, a bag of popcorn, and hit the road running with all the goodies that you've got from Ramsey Heating and Electric. The rubber cord, the fuses, the cord ends, everything, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Going to be very adamant this morning about three words. Close the border. For Pete's sakes, close the doggone southern border. I don't want any more lip service. I don't want the Obama administration and Obama himself giving me a whole bunch of balderdash. There's another word I wanted to use, but I didn't. I want Mike Simpson. I want Jim Risch. I want Mike Crapo. I want Raul Labrador. I want them to form teams with other senators and congressmen and form coalitions of power and close our borders. Protect our borders. If we have to, let's bring soldiers down to the border. I don't care if we use the National Guard. I don't care if we use returning veterans from Afghanistan. I don't care, but close the borders. I was very, you go ahead and criticize me if you want to. There are people out in the audience that go and say, oh, you're a fearmonger. No, I'm not. I'm a realist. Don't you dare call me a fearmonger. I am a realist. ISIS is coming across our southern border. And you're going, oh, come on, Zeb. Well, I'll tell you what, folks, it's not just me saying this. There are congressmen and senators that have said the same thing. Last night, California United States Representative Duncan said that ISIS has been apprehended on our southern border in Texas. They have members coming across our southern border, he said, and he said he knows of at least 10 ISIS fighters that have been caught coming across the Mexican border in Texas. Now, if you'll recall, it wasn't that many days ago, as a matter of fact, last month in September, Utah United States Representative Jason Chavez asked the Department of Homeland Security Chief Jay Johnson, oh, there's a bright light, about a report that 4 men with ties to terrorism were apprehended trying to enter the U.S. through Texas on September 10th. Now, this is where the plot really thickens. I was watching the interview, and I know many of you probably caught it too, with Jay Johnson, our Homeland Security Chief, with Brett Baier of Fox News. Brett Baier asked him directly about the 4 ISIS terrorists being caught and captured and in confinement. And this man had a blank stare fall across his face as if you just closed a window. And then he started stumbling, mumbling, and bumbling through an answer about their confinement, or if they were even confined at that time. They went to a commercial break. For those that saw this, you know I'm telling exactly how it happened. They went to a commercial break. When they came back from the commercial break, Jay Johnson, a great bright light of our security, said, oh, well, I did some research during the break and made a phone call, and they are still being confined. This man is supposed to be the head of our Homeland Security. This man is supposed to know everything about who's been apprehended, why they've been apprehended, where they are apprehended, and what their plans were to do in this country. And he didn't have a clue. Now, that leads me to my next phrase. The enemy is here. The enemy is here, and we're doing nothing. I want somebody to call me right now and tell me how safe, secure, and rosy, and fluffy, and warm you feel about the way this administration is not handling this, and it is a crisis. This is a crisis. Shut the border now. Shut the border with force. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you employ. We need the border shut down now. If that offends somebody, that's your problem, not mine. Shut the borders now. We were scheduled to have Mike Crapo call in this morning. I found out just about, half hour, 45 minutes ago. Then we were told that he is going to be going to northern Idaho this morning, and reception on his phone would not be very good, so he can't call in. When he does call in, you can imagine this is going to be my first demand. Hey, you're a United States Senator, Mike. Form coalitions of power with other senators. I want the border closed. I don't want all these people that we have no idea who they are, no idea what their intentions are, no idea what kind of harm they want to bring into this country. Close the borders. It's not that hard to understand. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. One does not need a certificate from Harvard to understand. Close our borders. Hey, I want to remind you about Denny's restaurant. Oh my, it's pumpkin season, and they've got pumpkin pancakes. Oh my goodness sakes, I'll tell you what, you better stop into Denny's restaurant today. Pumpkin pancakes, 611, I bit my tongue, 611 Overland and Burley. I'm so hungry, that's why. And along with all the pumpkin pancakes, you got to check out all the other great menu items for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. The service is fantastic. You're going to love going there, and you can get gift cards to give to somebody else that's hungry like I am, and enjoy a wonderful meal. Now, our next Zeb's Lunch Bunch is going to be on the 30th, the day before Halloween. It's going to be our Halloween party. Everybody wear a mask or a costume. And in Al's case, you're fine just the way you are. Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland and Burley. Stop in and enjoy a great meal today. Also, real fast, I want to remind you about Valleywide Home and Ranch. Oh, these are really, really nice people over at Valleywide. And don't forget the Mr. Max enrollment form for the program that ensures you receive the maximum deal from Valleywide on your propane. They'll tell you all about it. Winter gloves are in, and all the shop towels and the rags and the Ariat boots for the men and women. Oh, what a great display they've got of Ariat boots. And don't forget they got all your pellets for your pellet stove to keep you warm and toasty this winter, and all the feed for your livestock. That's it. All in a synopsis right there. Valleywide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. You stop in and see those great folks today. All right, now come on, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Are you not concerned? I mean, hey, moms, dads, grandpas, grandmas, aunts and uncles, anybody, everybody. Are you not concerned about, we have no clue what's coming across the border. We know there are drug cartels coming across the border. We know they're bringing all the bad stuff with them. We know that there's a lot of gun running going across the border. We know that we've got some bad hombres coming up through the border, and we know now that ISIS probably is coming through Texas and or Arizona. Huh. I care. I'm scared to death about it. And I don't understand why this, the richest, strongest country in the world, has to put up with mediocrity. Actually, less than mediocrity. We should be demanding, all of us, close the borders. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
You just couldn't let it go, could you?
Nope.
Nope, that's all right.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what, too, we get some confident people in there, so there's a bunch of bubbling jackasses we got now. We're never going to get nothing done.
Al, you've served our country in the military, as many, many, many others of our friends here in this area. And again, I reiterate for those that are new listeners, this man is very respectfully said a news junkie, and you follow everything that's going on. Now, that being said, I am very, very concerned about our open, porous borders. I am very concerned for my family and the welfare of others because we don't know who's coming across, and our government doesn't seem to care.
I know they don't. And that's the problem, because you got a bunch of stumbling, bumming idiots back there that have never had the experience like a military man or anything else for security and purpose like that. When you go on guard duty, you've got an oath to follow that you will help protect this country. These people don't know what the hell that means anymore.
I don't understand what it's going to take, but I do, and I'm going to employ this with Labrador and Simpson, and Mike Simpson's a special story all unto himself because of his basically not thinking that Islam is a threat to this country. And along with Jim Risch and then Mike Crapo, I'm going to ask them why they can't employ the ranks of others in the Senate and the Congress to just sit down and demand to the president, we want the borders closed, not next week, not a month from now, but now.
Well, if they'd follow the Constitution and do as the law says, Mr. Obama would have been kicked out of office 2 years ago, but you've got a House Speaker that doesn't have the brains of a God-given jackass out in the pasture to do anything, so therefore he lets him slide through, let him pass all this crap. Well, don't worry about the border, just leave him alone. Don't arrest him, just let him walk on through. But yet they hold one of our soldiers down there.
Yeah.
For unnecessary reasons, and I'm getting sick and tired of it because you got a bunch of incompetent jackasses running this country that should have been kicked out of here 5 years ago.
Did you hear President Nieto of Mexico complain about our toughness on the border?
Yes, and I tell you what I got to say to him. We turned 5 of your soldiers loose the next day. How come you're hanging on to our soldier down there?
You want to know?
6 months.
One of the reasons is because John Kerry and Obama have not pushed the issue. I don't even think they've mentioned it.
Didn't I call him incompetent jackass?
Yes, the guy can be right.
That's why nothing's getting done.
Absolutely. Al, thank you for your call.
Have a good one.
Appreciate
you
it.
Quit picking on me.
Well, I'm sorry. Not really, but I'll say I'm sorry.
Don't you ever back up and be sorry.
Okay, buddy. Thanks.
Bye.
I don't know, folks, what it's going to... you, out there in the audience, Are you not outraged because people are coming into this country illegally that want to do us harm? I mean, we're at war. This is a very scary situation with ISIS. These people are growing like a cancer. I just could not believe, as I watched the television screen last night, the tanks lined up on the Syrian and Turkish border. And I said to my lovely bride, and I'm not exaggerating one bit, I said, my goodness, look at this. If you had never seen or pictured what Armageddon may look like, that's it. That's it. And the town of Kobani might be just absolutely covered in blood this morning because the Turkish forces are not doing anything to stop ISIS. We're not doing anything to stop ISIS. Oh, don't tell me that the airstrikes are going to be an inhibitor. Oh, please don't go there. Caller, I'll be right there, I promise. Don't go away, please. Snyder Surplus, 112 South, 200 west of Rupert. My goodness, they've got a lot of items over there. I mean, they're not just army and hunting supplies. Holy buckets. They've got new furniture coming in, couches, desks, and office chairs, and they've got mattresses, and they've got toilets and bathtubs, and they've got bunk beds. I mean, please stop over and check out their new inventory at their new store at 112 South, 200 west of Rupert. 112 South, 200 west of Rupert. Snyder Surplus, same great friendly service, serving you at Snyder Surplus. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Bell. You know, I'm right there with Al. What a good guy. And he says it just like it is. We have a bunch of buffoons running our country. They have no clue how to protect our borders. They won't even let the people out there protect the borders.
You know, I've been on the border numerous times. I do not understand, Donna, how we can be this naive. I mean, we're just sitting back, we're enjoying a dish of ice cream, we're watching the NFL. Oh my, what a beautiful sunset. But do you realize how serious, how dangerous, and how absolutely devastating this can be with these people coming in here? And we know they don't like us. They're not going to join the Chamber of Commerce, I'll tell you that.
No, they're going to create more havoc in this country. And if Obama doesn't stop the air support or the airplanes transporting these people in so they can come across the border and bring all these nasty diseases in here that were eradicated centuries ago, we're going to have, and then to say that it's not an epidemic, we have 100 people that are in confinement right now because they were exposed to Ebola because they keep letting them come over here. Why don't they just stop it?
I don't know how you and George feel about this, but I can tell by the tone of your voice you're as upset as I am with the incompetency and the idiocy of this administration. And then when they run those ads saying, oh, well, we have nothing but minuscule fears on this problem. It'll never happen. When some politician looks at the camera and tells you it will never, that's the time to put your tail between your legs and run.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. You betcha. You know, I don't know how to fix the problem. I know I'm really upset, and so is George. I'm just more vocal about it than he is. We need to do something. We need to get these people out of August. You know, the November elections are coming up. Get those yahoos out of there. Get somebody in there that's going to defend.
Yeah, but wait a minute, though, Donna. Let's look at it from the other perspective. Let's use a groundswell of support from us, the people, we the people, and demand that the ones that are in there clean up their act and get the job done. They've got the contacts. They got the wherewithal. They should have taken care of this. I just want to grab somebody by the short end of the necktie and pull it up nice and tight and say, get the job done now.
I'll back you up 100%. I'll be right there with you. I don't know how to do it. I just know we need to get it done.
Amen. God bless you for your call. Thank you very much.
Have a great day, sir.
Got to take a break and have the Capital Press Ag Minute come in here. I'll be right back.
The Capital Press Ag Minute is brought to you by OnlyAg.com. A $57,000 specialty crop grant will fund University of Idaho field experiments designed to help Idaho dried bean growers deal with one of their biggest production challenges, the nightshade weed. The money, which was provided to the Idaho Bean Commission through the Idaho State Department of Agriculture, will be used to conduct several different experiments in furrow and sprinkle irrigated beans. Nightshade costs the Idaho dry bean industry millions of dollars a year, and the Commission is hopeful the experiments will help growers get a handle on the problem. Based on previous surveys, IBC officials estimate the weed cost to the industry is about $8 million a year. With the Capital Press Ag Minute, this is Hannah Brose.
To receive instant, exclusive, unlimited access to the West Agricultural News Source, register your account today at CapitalPress.com.
All right, thank you, Capital Press. And don't forget Berry Equipment and Rental, 3 locations serving you. And they've got all the Coyote tractors, end-of-the-year prices, save money. And they've got the big aerial lifts to get you way up in the air. Yes, sirree. Great selections on everything, great financing, and super great people to work with. Always at Berry Equipment and Rental. Locations on Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln in Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Nick and the crew over there in Burley, good folks. They can help you. Like I said, Berry Equipment and Rental. You stop in and see them today. You know, honestly, folks, think about this. For those that are listening, having a cup of coffee or driving down the road or whatever, we're not safe. We are not safe, and this is not being theatrical. We don't know who's come across the border already. We don't know who's coming across the border right now. And last night, when I watched that interview with former security head Leon Panetta, one word sums up how I feel this morning. And again, I'm being honest with you. Fear. We, the people in the United States, we do not have any kind of strength or leadership from the White House. And Leon Panetta, of all people, he just basically laid it out last night like it is. Obama is not doing the job to protect us. He's almost playing like Bobo the Clown in the Oval Office with no inclination to do anything to stop radical Islam. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Talk to me, caller. Go.
Yeah, we've got 3 major problems over there with the Muslims. When we go over there to fight them, we've got rules of engagement, and you can't win a battle when your hands are tied. You also, those countries got gun control. They don't have guns, and so that's what happens. There's over 200,000 Muslims fleed. Why in the hell don't they stand up and defend their country instead of having other countries do it?
I don't know, George. I'm so upset at what's going on in the world today and the rules of engagement, like you said. You know what? I don't care one iota about rules of engagement. You know, when you get in a prize fight, you fight to win. When you get in a football game, you play to win. When you're in a war, you don't just put people as pawns. You go out and you try to win. And that's something we haven't done since World War II. I am sick and tired of the way this country acts and reacts.
Yeah, and I was watching TV last night, and it just floored me on how many Muslims are fleeing Syria and all them. Why in the hell don't they stand up and protect their country instead of having our boys, young men and women, giving their lives?
Oh, I'm telling you, this is so sad. What's happening over in on the Syrian and Turkish border this morning? I mean, it's just horrendous to think what is going to happen with the murdering and the bloodshed on these people in the town of Kobani, and the Turkish government with their soldiers. They're right there. They're right there, and they're not doing anything.
Yeah, and you know, there's thousands and thousands of them getting killed. If the U.S. go there and drop a big bomb and annihilate about 100,000, that's going to save a whole bunch of lives down the road.
Yeah, but wait a minute. this bombing that supposedly Obama is using as a deterrent, you know as well as I do, it's like trying to take a little sand bucket on the beach of the Pacific Ocean and drain the ocean. It's not going to work. And the enemy knows when the bombs are going to be hit, the bombs, where they're going to be dropped. They know everything. They leave the area. We had a chance when they were coming across Syria towards the Turkish border. We had a chance, according to many of our generals, to go in there with not just a few airstrikes, but thousands of airstrikes and wipe them out. And Obama said no.
Yeah, and you know what's really sad? These airstrikes are doing, what's the cost to drop a bomb? $100,000? And they take out one Humvee and kill 3 people. That's kind of something wrong with that picture.
Amen, George. But as far as fighting to win, I could not agree more. This country has lost all the concepts of what the red, white, and blue stands for. Thank you so much, George. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
God bless you. Well, you know, really, the phone line should be completely lit up, and everybody should be outraged over this. Here we have Leon Panetta last night. It was a good interview with Bill O'Reilly. I very seldom ever give any credence to Bill O'Reilly. I don't like Bill O'Reilly. But last night, that was a good interview. He let Leon Panetta talk much more than he does other guests, and he let him finish his sentences, and Leon Panetta absolutely is, you could tell by his eyes and his body language and the language itself. He's very, very concerned about the next 2 years with Obama. And he stated that Obama is being led by crisis. He's not being a leader. He's being led by the crisis that are taking place at the current time. Wow. And then Obama heads off again and goes to more fundraisers for the Democratic Party. Remember the old terminology, Nero fiddled while Rome burned? Well, that's exactly what we have here. We don't have a president. We do not have a leader. We have a kind of a old Western building, a false front building that loves the camera opportunities, loves to jog up the stairs or jog down the stairs with his elbows up and act so cocky and so know-it-all. Poorest leader we've ever had. Poorest leader we've ever had. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Yesterday I had to go back over and I looked forward to the Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. I get in the pool for the hydrotherapy for my legs, and I'm telling you, it is absolutely phenomenal. They have the only pool around, and they have the people, the professionals there that really know the exercises that are going to help me get better. They've got absolutely a friendly staff, comprehensive services, and they can help people from 6 months old all the way to 96 years of age. Really good people that work there, headed up with Nick Greenwell, the physical therapist in charge, and I'll tell you what, this is the place to go to. Call 678-1191, 678-1191, helping you get back to being you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Good morning, you're on the air. Hello, caller, I'm listening. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, this is Jeff calling in, and you said call in. I got a problem. I heard on the radio today that they're now legalizing same-sex marriages in Utah and Nevada, called in by a judge out of San Francisco, California, and I'm just wondering, where do you go from here now? The people's voice is not heard anymore.
No, you're exactly right, and I appreciate your call on this.
Is there anywhere we can go on this? I mean, it's pretty much to me, we got to just sit on our hands now because one person in another state can dictate what we can do and what we can't do in our own state.
You know, the judge that made this edict, this Judge Reinhardt, rejected the argument that same-sex marriages will devalue traditional marriage, and I just absolutely abhor what he said. Here is a man that's a liberal. This Reinhardt is a left-wing liberal, and he uses that liberalness to put the rest of us that believe in conservative values, believe in God-given marriages between a man and a woman, and he said that he rejected the argument that same-sex marriages will devalue traditional marriage. I'm telling you, this is the hole that's going to get bigger and bigger. It's a crevasse that's going to get deeper, because you're now going to see people that want to marry their dog, or you're going to now see people that want to marry 2 or 3 other people. We are looking at the devaluation of marriage, and it makes me sick.
It does me too, Deb, and I'm just wondering, I mean, even casting your vote means nothing anymore in the United States.
Well, look what happened in California with Proposition 8. The people spoke down there. You had 80% of the people vote for marriage between a man and a woman, and then it was overridden. The government and these weirdos and these absolute people that crawl from under the carpet, they disdain the popular vote. They say that our vote's worth nothing, and they just absolutely have cast marriage into the garbage dump.
They have. With everything, and raising a family in this it's pretty dang tough now. You know, you're trying to teach your kids right from wrong, and you don't even know what right from wrong is anymore.
Well, answer this. Answer one simple question. What moral values are left safe and sanctified in this country? Tell me one.
It's pretty dang tough to even think of one.
I can't come up with anything.
That way. I was seeing that the atheists or the satanic worshipers are trying to get their idol put there instead of the 10 Commandments. They're side by side with the 10 Commandments now.
You know, even our Times News newspaper and the op-ed writer, John Alexander, condemning you and me that believe in traditional marriage and traditional values, running us down and saying that we're bigots and everything else. Well, you know something, sir? I'm going to say this, and I think you'll stand shoulder to shoulder with me. When it comes to values and family values and morality that I was raised with, I'll stand up for it, and if they want to call me a bigot, so be it.
And I will do the same thing, but it's just so impossible when the court system has more power than the people.
I agree. I do
appreciate. That's where we got to fight at, you know. And I don't know how you vote the judges out or what you do, but they've got to change.
Well, you know, everybody's so quick to criticize on the left, and including some of our local trash papers, so quick to criticize Governor Butch Otter, but Butch has remained firm. Butch has remained for traditional marriage values between a man and a woman, and I certainly haven't heard some of his challengers come out and put their neck on the chopping line. I haven't heard them say anything about any other subjects except education, and I'll tell you what, a one-trick pony is not going to be a good governor, and these other people are not being well-versed in water issues, marriage issues, and other issues like the wolves as predators, etc. And I'm sick and tired of hearing all these one-trick ponies try to get the vote.
I agree. I am with you. I stand behind you on that one. So, yeah, but if there's any way we can do it to bring it back to the people, I mean, that's just where I'm at. It's like we keep voting the same people in over and over and over again. Well, they ain't showing any change.
I'll tell you what, just stay mad, my friend, and be vocal. I tell you, the day is coming when we, the people, are going to have to really let them know, the people that supposedly are in charge, we've had enough, and that day is looming on the horizon.
Yeah, I guess you better get your reloader going.
God bless you for your call. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I honestly believe that. The day is coming where they, the left, and the liberals, and those that are the loons in our society that want to throw everything upside down and cast it asunder, they're going to have to hear from we, the people. Got to do a weather forecast right now. The weather is brought to you by Mad River Laser at 502 E Street. I just ripped my shirt. Deanne's going to be real happy with me. 502 E Street on the square in Rupert, and they've got all the promotional items for your business and the promotion of your business. Please stop in. You are going to love this store. It's absolutely phenomenal. All the sweatshirts and the T-shirts and the caps and the knives. They've got the buck knives over there and the tote bags. I love this store. She's doing some great stuff for us, Zeb at the Ranch. Nicole at Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. And right now here is Michael Rogers' weather.
Good morning. Michael Rogers for Zeb at the Ranch. It's starting to sound like a broken record. Yeah, I told you it's going to be sunny all week, and it's going to be sunny all week. Temperatures are kind of back and forth between mid-70s, low to mid-70s. Overnight lows are very comfortable. And it's fall. Daylight savings time, Sunday. You lose an hour. I'm sorry, it happens. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
I forgot about that, Michael. Thank you. That's coming up this Sunday. We got to fall back on our clocks. Michael, we gain an hour. If we fall back, we're gaining an hour, not losing an hour. Ha-ha! Gotcha. Hey, Sophie's Chatterbox right on the square at 530 East Street in Rupert. What a nice bakery. Oh, wedding cakes and cookie bars and homemade bread and delicious cinnamon rolls with the icing on top. Just melt in your mouth. Delicious. Along with breakfast, lunch, or supper. Right there at Sophie's Chatterbox. 530 East Street on the square in Rupert. Really nice people. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, when you stop and think about it, seriously, and I'm not going to mince any words on any subject I have on this program, ever, because I'm going to be honest about it. If you can't be honest, then you should get off the air. But the roof is falling in on the United States. And Panetta was asked about this last night. And he said, yeah. Basically, in paraphrasing, the United States is in some doggone dark days right now because we don't have any leadership. And I was watching another one of those man-on-the-street interviews last night with some of these, and I know I'm going to have some people get mad at me, but I'm not running down all 18 to 21-year-olds. I'm not. But they interviewed some 18 to 21-year-olds at Harvard University, and kind of a man-on-the-street deal. Caller, I'll be right there. And they asked them a question as to who's more guilty of causing a crisis, ISIS or America. And do you know what these absolutely destitute of knowledge young people said? America. They were scared of America. They said America is at fault for everything. America is dangerous. What kind of education system have we got in this country for these young people? Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. How are we doing today?
I'm mad as heck, and I'm not going to get over it. Good morning.
Well, I wanted to call and talk to you about this gay marriage thing. You remember when we passed the constitutional amendment and how hard we worked to get that through?
Yes.
And Zeb, I would have never thought that any court would turn down a constitutional amendment. Now, when I look back at what we did then, I guess there's one thing we should have done that we didn't. We probably at the same time should have passed a law that they could have a civil union, but not call it marriage. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that irritates me about this. From now on, all of the records there is going to show that so-and-so was married.
Yeah.
And who's going to know whether it was a man or a woman?
You know, now correct me if I'm wrong on this, Bert, but I believe that at the courthouses they still have bride and groom, and the county clerk at a courthouse cannot change those or alter those until I believe the state or the court system rewrites it or whatever. This thing is in turmoil, and you know what this does to me this morning is just devalue another moral principle that we've had in this country of men and woman and family and cherished values, traditional values. There is nothing, and I dare you to tell me I'm wrong on this, there is nothing to stop marriage now from maybe encircling somebody marrying their poodle, or somebody marrying a turtle, or somebody marrying 4 or 5 others, because with enough court cases and enough petitions, they will get anything they want to further derogatory marriage in its form.
Well, Zeb, it's a tragic thing that we've let, or I shouldn't say we. The thing that irritates me as much as anything is that those that wear a really nice black robe, and I shouldn't put everybody into that because there's such a few of them. When something passes like Proposition 8, our constitutional amendment here in Idaho, why would a court ever let that? Why would they turn it down?
I have no idea.
I don't understand their reasoning on it. And when you look at the Constitution, there isn't anything that it says about equal rights. How can we make that? You've got a Ford pickup with a diesel motor in it. I've got a Chevy. So I'm not equal to you. Can I take that to court?
There is no such thing as a perfect harmony of equality in any circumstance in anyone's life. There is always going to be a circumstance where somebody's a little bit better or has a little bit better off situation than the other person or the other situation. But for this judge, Stephen Reinhardt, to say that laws that treat people differently based on sexual orientation are unconstitutional, that is wrong. We're talking about family. We're talking about God-given inalienable rights of raising family in a moral setting. And right now it's being thrown in the trash can with this reversal. And what happened to popular vote being the majority rules in this country, Bert? Look at Proposition 8 in California. Over 80% of the people said they wanted to keep marriage between a man and a woman. And that was thrown in the garbage.
Well, Zeb, it's a tough thing, however you look at it, and so anyway.
I hope that's not a fire alarm that's going off over there.
No, Zeb, that's just one of my boys trying to give me another project.
Okay, God bless you for your call. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and keep up the fight.
All right, sir. Thank you very, very much. Holy smokes, I thought we were under siege there for a minute. I heard all kinds of bells and whistles. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
You know, I called in, I don't know how many years ago, and I talked to Rich, talked to a lot of the politicians that were on your air, and asked them about the border crossing. And every time I got a runaround, they never definitely came out with any answer or a positive answer, and they just let us skate by because of the big farmers. No, I'm not talking about the smaller farmers around here. Most of them do their own work, but some of them hire help, but they usually go, legally. But the big farmers, the big slaughterhouses, all those people, they got the money. It's not majority vote anymore. It's money. And that's what's ruining this country. And people say, well, we got to have jobs. Well, we are not getting the jobs. They're going to people in a foreign country. And it's going to get worse.
Well, right now,
the gay marriage issue. There is no time at all that, to me, in my mindset, polygamy is more natural than what these guys are okaying. Polygamy, to me, seems like that would be a more natural, and I'm not pushing polygamy, believe me. I'm a Christian, I'm against that, but as a secular human being, I would probably go for polygamy much faster than I would for gay marriage.
I am absolutely, I agree with what you say this morning, but I honestly believe that we are seeing an Armageddon in our society with a breakdown, a total devastation of moral values. We're seeing marriage crumble. We're seeing the value of marriage and the family crumble. And for this judge to say that same-sex marriages will not devalue traditional marriage, the man is a fool.
Well, I absolutely agree with you. And another thing, you know, I have a group of people that Bible study. I'm not saying all Christians are like this, but I think our government has fallen back. I think our Christians are falling back. They don't want to hear anything about Muslims. You know, that's another religion, and we can't condemn another religion. That's a bunch of baloney. They're no more of another religion than Hoppa.
Well, you know, Dwayne, I wished I had more time to really get into this with you, and you can tell by the clock. I got to do my last commercial and get out of here, but I want to say how much I appreciate your values and your thoughts this morning. I agree with you, and thank you for taking the time to call.
You bet.
God bless. Bye. Thank you. I'll tell you something, folks. No, I'm not going to weaken on this subject. And no, yes, they can call me a bigot. I know the Times News calls me a lot of things. But then on the other hand, why are we, in the majority, called the bigots and the hate mongers and everything else when we believe in a value system? We believe in a right and a wrong. We believe in families. We believe in morality. And they're preaching filth. Don't forget big tire sale going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the big tire sale going on right now with the TerraMax HT tire and, of course, the Eclipse tire on sale for your cars. All-season traction, 70,000-mile warranty. The Open Country AT2 for your pick-em-up trucks. Oh, my. And a lot of custom wheels on sale. Oh, yes. And the best brake value promise in the industry. I'm telling you, professionally trained technicians that really no brakes. Stop in and see them for front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. All 7 locations, the best. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. Your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. We're going to take a little break right now. I got to pour a glass of ice water over my head and cool off a little bit. I am upset about the way things are going. You should be, too. I'll be back in 6. Oh, Gina, turn your mic on for a minute. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Listen, I got a closed-circuit message for you to give to the people that are inspecting the bridge, the Prime Bridge.
Oh, yeah.
Would you please tell them to take all the time they want?
Really, be thorough.
Be very, very thorough. Thank you. Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, and, of course, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, every free man. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
You know, Western Waste Services really prides themselves on doing the job right and getting rid of your garbage. Always at your disposal, and I'll tell you something, we've been very, very happy over the many, many years that they've been picking up our garbage on the route service. You will be too. All you have to do is call them. Give them a jingle at 734-6969. Western Waste Services, yep, always at your disposal. Really nice people. Let's see. I had another news note that I was going to mention to everybody, and I can't find it here. Oh, I got some birthdays I got to mention real quick. We will not be on the air naturally on Friday. Melody Bunn is going to have, I think it's Melody Bond. It's written down here wrong. He's going to have a birthday on Friday and then an anniversary on October 12th. Dal and Helen Bradley. God bless them. Really nice people. Don't forget Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert, 436-5636. Now, remember that number. 436-5636, and very flexible hours to serve you when you need them. When there's the passing of a loved one, they will be there and give you the family attention you need. Please give them a call, 436-5636, because they always serve you and your family with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert. You know, I look forward to Wednesdays because I get a chance to talk to a very, very dear friend of mine back in Colorado, and a great author, and author of the Horse Sense blog and many books, and he keeps, and I ask him to do this, chide me into getting my book finished. I appreciate that. Crack the whip over there. Doug Johnson, good morning. How are you?
Well, Zeb, I'm excited for your audience because tomorrow night they have an opportunity that exceeds all the work you and I do and all the other people do, I think. If they're not aware of it, I'm going to make a little announcement right now. 7 o'clock at the King Fine Arts Center in Burley tomorrow night. Trevor Loudon from New Zealand is going to be speaking, and if anybody gets a chance to go, it's well worth your time. He will tell you things like the fact that ISIS is part of Al-Qaeda and they are headed by a KGB agent. He will tell you what's going on in America and how we can fix it. It's an hour or two worth your time, so I recommend anybody who can go, and if you go and you get a chance to meet him, tell him you're a friend of Doug Johnson's, and, well, he actually may ignore you then because he knows me too well. But anyway, I wanted to say that because he's such a great guy, and it's a real opportunity for the people in your listening audience if they can get a chance to hear him.
No, I'm glad you brought that up because I was just going to mention that, too, when you come on the air this morning. Trevor's been on our program about 2 or 3 different times. He was on last week, and we're going to try to scoot down there tomorrow night and take a listen. Doug, I want to start things off this morning by talking about the interview last night that left me feeling very hollow and fearful. And that was the interview. And by the way, you can criticize Bill O'Reilly all you want like I do. But this interview that he had last night with Leon Panetta was excellent. And the interview left me feeling very hollow and very fearful because Leon Panetta just basically came right out and said that we have no leadership and we're being led by crises, not by a leader in the Oval Office. And I am very afraid. What are your thoughts?
Well, I didn't see the interview. I'm not surprised Panetta said that. He is certainly setting things up for Hillary Clinton to run because he's in her pocket. But I'm not saying he's not right. I'm just saying I'm not surprised. Although I think he's painting the picture that the Democrats would want for Hillary, that Obama may not be competent, which is not the case. Obama is just showing his ideology so much people are rejecting it, and they don't want people to understand that Hillary has the same ideology, but...
No, wait a minute. Doug, you're a good enough friend. I can do this. I can interrupt you. First of all, I want to stress the fact that Hillary really didn't come into that mix or that conversation. Secondarily, he did not diminish...
That's part of Panetta and the Clinton campaign's plan.
I know.
I work without mentioning her name to make Obama look worse so she can come in and say, I should have been there to answer the phone at 3 a.m. He didn't handle it right.
Yeah, but, again, without seeing the interview and listening to the interview, I know it's hard to compliment what he did or did not say, but I would say this. He compared presidents in the past with Obama and said that he was a very smart man. He was a very astute man as far as knowing the job and what should be done, but he's not doing it because he doesn't know how to sit down and delegate authority to take care of a problem. That is basically the truth, regardless of whether you're trying to sell a book or whether you're trying to promote another person for president. That is the truth about Obama. He will not pull the trigger.
And it's not, and this is where I disagree with Panetta, It's not that he can't or doesn't know how. With what you said, he won't.
That's right.
And that's a really important point. He has no intention. His attacks on ISIS are feeble and shallow. He bombs empty buildings. He kills 3 or 4 people here or there. He doesn't want, not only doesn't want dead civilians, he doesn't want dead terrorists. This is simply an action to get through the election, to make the Democrats look a little bit stronger, so they can get through the election. That's the only plan on Obama's part. Obama has absolutely no intention of involvement at any significant level over there, because he, number one, doesn't see it as a threat to us, and number 2, he wants to turn the region over to Iran, and he doesn't want to get us too involved.
You know, when I look at what's going on, Doug, and ISIS is here in this country. We've had various representatives like Jason Chavez of Utah, and then also Representative Duncan Hunter talk about ISIS members that have been caught on the Texas and Arizona borders. And then you listen to Jay Johnson, the supposed head of Homeland Security, and he stumbles and mumbles and bumbles his way through questions and answers the other night with Brett Baier, and he didn't know about the 4 that had been caught. He didn't know whether they were still in detainment. He didn't know about ISIS coming across the border. I'm fearful, Doug. You should be too.
Well, I think we should be. You know, we've already seen protests on ISIS's behalf in Ferguson, Missouri, graffiti around the country, and in various places for them. We've seen threats right on the El Paso border with Mexico. I personally believe they're already here. And when you add that to the fact that we essentially don't have a border, who knows how many more can come in, how dangerous it can be. There's no doubt we are in a very dangerous time, and the scary part to me, Zeb, is that this doesn't just endanger people near the border. It endangers the whole country everywhere, because travel is so easy. And I think a great example is what happened in Oklahoma recently when this Muslim extremist, beheaded a coworker, killed her and beheaded her, and that's the middle of our country. We're not talking about on a coastal city or a border city or something. That's right in the middle of our country, and so it's pretty scary what's going on.
Doug, the only reason I have you on my program is very simple. You're a sharp guy and you understand what's going on. And I always have only the best people on various subjects. What am I missing? I mean, I feel like I'm a fairly intelligent individual. What is so hard about 3 words? Close the border. What is so hard about that? What is so hard to understand that bad people are coming across, whether it's drug cartels or gun runners or whatever? What is so hard about those words to understand? Close the border.
Well, what's hard is that we as Americans expect our government to operate the way we think they should. They have the same values we do. This administration does not. The Democrats do not. The progressive ideology is to flood our country, bring in as many illegals as they can to turn the vote to the Democrats, and if they succeed, and with their amnesty, we will not see a Republican president again in an easily 5 or 10 decades, if ever. But on top of that, we have to remember that they are trying to overload our system so they can change our form of government. The Cloward and Piven strategy says load it up so much with so much cost, so much expense, so many problems, we can't afford it, and they come in and say, see, the capitalist system doesn't work, we need to replace this, and they will usher in what will be called socialism. It will be a flat-out Marxist communist system. That's what their plan is. And when we get frustrated like you and I are, we have to look back at that and realize we're fighting this ideology. It's so much bigger than an open border or an Ebola patient being brought into the country or our troops being sent over there and being exposed to it and things like this. It's so much bigger, and it's on every front. And so this is the problem. It's hard to always be remembering that we're fighting such a major evil and such a multi-front war that we're really up against.
You know, and you said the Ebola crisis, and we might as well jump into that a little bit right now. You and I are basically on the same page in the same paragraph with our beliefs on this. But, you know, Doug, the more I listen to this, the more I hear Obama, the more I listen to some of the doctors with the CDC, which are basically being spoon-fed information of what the president wants them to say, as far as trying to erase or eradicate our fears, the more I worry. Because we don't know who's come in contact with who. We don't know what subject matter they've come in contact with, their shoes, or whether they've touched something, or whether their clothing brushed up against something when they came into this country and packed it in their suitcase. We don't know. I honestly think we should have tried to curb and stalemate the problem at its source over in Africa and not let it here into this country.
Well, absolutely. It should have been quarantined. And you and I have talked briefly about this before a couple weeks ago. The idea of sending troops, we had, I think, not a disagreement as much as a clarification of positions.
Absolutely.
In that we both agree that we should be doing as a nation everything we can to help fight this, to keep it from spreading. But my concern that I raised in that discussion, of course, which we talked about, was that we're going to send our troops in there. Actually, from what I heard this morning, they're already in there. The government's just not admitting it. And they're going to have direct contact with these people. And they're not going to be positioned in a way where they're going to be really protected the way they should be. We don't really know enough about this disease. Nobody does to know it's protected. We would be far better off sending the resources and the right kind of things there instead of bringing people here and instead of sending our people there. There are 8 or 10 military bases that soldiers are going to be taken from and sent over there. They come back in this country, we could easily have a massive outbreak across this country so quickly it'd be ridiculous. This is a very scary thing, and this whole idea that we don't want to, close off travel to that area, we don't want to restrict things, is really foolishness. And I think that probably the thing that scares me the most, Zeb, is that this administration thinks the American people will actually fall for it when they say there's no real danger. I think most Americans do see the danger, and they're scared to death.
You know, I dare you, not you personally, Doug, but I dare you in this situation or anyone else to go talk to a doctor. Go talk to a doctor and ask him if this has been a well-thought-out, well-organized movement to try to curb Ebola. And most any physician that I've talked to, 99 and 9/10 of them, I've talked to doctors in Atlanta, Georgia. I've talked to doctors in Colorado, your home state. I've talked to doctors back on the East Coast in New Jersey and New York. I have yet, Doug, to find one single doctor, and doctors right here in Magic Valley that I very much respect. They have all said this is absolute buffoonery the way this has been handled.
Well, it is, and frankly, it makes you wish you could put a seal around your community so nobody could get in or out, so you wouldn't have the problems. But it is buffoonery. But clearly, this administration doesn't care. I heard somebody say the other day, and I don't know really where this comes from, and I know it was a liberal source, so I know that they didn't believe, and I don't know when I say they, I'm not specifically saying this administration, just liberals, don't believe that we really can cut off travel to that part of the world because of slavery in America 150 years ago, and so we're really responsible for them, and, which is maybe the stupidest statement I've heard anybody make. If you want to make the world safe, you've got to contain things like this, and my fear is that we are seeing not just a disease that could be of huge proportion, but literally a biblical proportion type of attack on humanity that could devastate people. I read just yesterday, Zeb, that they're expecting by January, just in West Africa, there to be 1.4 million cases of Ebola, just there by January.
Yeah. Yeah, and when
it's unbelievable.
When you have people, let's use Donald Trump, come out with Donald Trump, look at the camera and say, he can't figure Obama out. Is he that arrogant? Or is he that stupid to do and allow happen what's happened? I mean, stupid and arrogant together in the same sentence. People just honestly see no leadership with this man.
No, we don't. And unfortunately, by the time this is over, there's going to be a lot of devastation to our nation, possibly by this illness.
I agree.
And certainly by all the damage to our country. I don't know if we can recover from what's going on. We have an election here in about 3 or 4 weeks, I guess about 3 weeks now, and it's too late to really make major change with that election because we blew it in the primaries by not getting the right candidates in many cases. And so we're fighting an uphill battle. And I think that we have, maybe if we're lucky, Zeb, we have one more election cycle to really start to turn this country around or it's all over, and that's the presidential election.
Yeah, but wait a minute. Right there, Doug, I've got to interrupt you. But we need to get people to go vote. No more of this silly, frivolous, absolutely insane 22%. People need to get out and vote. We've got a caller. I've got to get him in. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, Doug, yesterday I think I told this to Zeb on a separate call, but I was just curious as what you thought. There was a gentleman, I think his name is Hodges or whatever the hell it is, but he said that they have a patent on the Ebola virus as they also have a patent on the AIDS virus, and that it's intentional. And like you said, Obama is a skilled politician. He's not an incompetent fool, and I'll hang up.
All right. Good comment, and that's a listener that calls in regularly. Go ahead, respond if you would, please, Doug.
Well, I hadn't heard about the patent before. I guess I'm not surprised because they always want to try and use these things for weaponization and stuff. Right. And I don't. I will say this. While I do believe this is all part of the way this administration is plotting things for more control and more power, I don't really understand how they would make this play out. It is so dangerous. I just can't imagine. You talk about playing with fire. As this thing gets out of control, they could be hurt too. But for some reason, they think they can do it. And that may be the scariest thing. You used a word a few minutes ago, Zeb, that really jumped out at me, and I think it really, really says a lot, and that's the word arrogance.
Absolutely.
There is so much arrogance from this president and this administration that it defies logic.
I think
even if you were trying to take down America, it defies logic of some of the things they do.
I would say it like this, and we've got another call. I want to get him in, Doug, but I would say that this man's arrogancy and the arrogant attitude of his administration supersedes reality. I think that's honestly what's going on.
I think that's a really good observation, Zeb. I really do. I think you said it really well.
Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. My thought on this, and correct me if I'm wrong, but why would we be wanting to send our soldiers, trained fighting men and women, to take care of a disease that they cannot fight, they cannot physically battle, while terrorists are coming across our border and trying to knock us down? It's weakening us to the point to where we won't be able to fight back. Kind of like the smallpox disease introduced to Indian tribes, way back when. That's just my thought on it.
No, thank you, caller. I appreciate that. There's a lot of ambiguity there, and I think Doug would agree that we're going to send troops over to another country to fight a disease, but we won't send troops to our border to protect us from annihilation. It's really silly, isn't it?
Well, it is. It is, and part of that, I think, may be that we have a president who doesn't believe in the military for military purposes. I'm going to give him, and it's not necessarily that I believe this, but just for the sake of the discussion, I'm going to give the president the benefit of the doubt for a minute and say, maybe his heart is we need to help the world, so we need to use our military for good things, and one thing would be to go help fight Ebola. If that's what he thinks and believes, and I have no idea if it is, it's still foolishness because it's the wrong people. One of the generals came out yesterday and actually said that we already have troops over there dealing with this, and then the White House quickly backtracked and said, no, he misspoke. I am sure we do have people over there already, and my fear is, in fact, the White House even tried to say they're only going to be doing testing of specimens as opposed to what we've heard that they're going to be actually having direct contact with the people who are infected. Now, if they're just doing testing of specimens, why do we need 4,000 soldiers over there? None of this makes any sense, but the worst part is, Zeb, that it's going to come back and bite us really badly. And I almost wish that somebody in Congress would stand up and try to put through legislation that would say any soldier who doesn't want to go will not be held responsible, because this has to be totally volunteer. This is way too dangerous.
I agree.
But I'm sure that wouldn't, nobody will do that.
No, I totally agree.
I really fear for our soldiers.
No, I think you're spot on. Doug, it just goes too fast. I would love to entertain the thoughts of having you on for the entirety of an hour. I've got other commitments. I just want to say that my blessings and my prayers always go out to you and your wife. You're wonderful people. You write a great blog, the Horse Sense blog. I hope everything's going well with your books and everything for you, because we need more people like you, and I appreciate all your active comments on my program. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks, Zeb. I appreciate it. And everybody, don't forget to go hear Trevor tomorrow night, and I'll talk to you next week, Zeb.
I'll look forward to it. Thank you, sir. God bless you.
Okay.
Doug Johnson in Colorado, a dear, dear friend, and I appreciate him very, very much. Hey, don't forget, let's ride. Let's ride. Let's get on our ATVs and go up into the hills and enjoy before they shut that off. Anyway, let's have some fun. Get on the ATVs and enjoy the great part of southern Idaho. You better believe it. And they've got all your ATVs. They've got all your accessories right over there at Let's Ride. That's where I bought mine, and I'll guarantee you, best thing we ever did. We have a ball. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. Don't forget to give them a call, 436-4771. And it's also time to be thinking about the brand new snowmobiles they've got over there in stock. And again, all the accessories. Yes, sirree, Bob. And a great service department to keep everything running for you. Don't forget, where the fun is sold. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Let's ride. Oh, by the way, did you hear that? What do you mean? You didn't hear that. I'm asking you, did you hear that? Well, if you didn't hear that, maybe you'd better call 312-0957 and make an appointment at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids to have your hearing checked with Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology, at 1218 9th Street, Unit 2, right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. Number again, 312-0957. Hunters, don't forget, she's got those shooter plugs for you. If you're up hunting this fall, don't let your hearing start to be impaired from the gun blast. Get those shooter plugs. And again, the number, 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Did you hear that? Caller, real quick. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. If you have to look at the big overall plan, though, the goal has been to destroy our economy, destroy us any way they can, to bring us down to third world status. So bringing in Ebola or economic chaos, this is, bring us down to the African level. That's been their goal. And so, Ebola, whatever, this has been the thing. But I have to agree that Obama knows exactly what he's doing. And he's certainly very sympathetic to the Muslim cause, and everything is pretty obvious. He knew about ISIS a year ago, just let things go on. He's fired 100 of the top military generals and leaders that are, taking a stand against this, and he's just got his lackeys, his lapdogs in there that'll do his bidding.
I agree. Adriana, my next guest is waiting, but I totally agree with everything you said. Thank you so much for your call.
You have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye now.
We've got our next guest ready to go momentarily. Don't forget Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more with a great big harvest of savings. My goodness, mattresses. You can get a king for the price of a queen. Oh, my goodness. And they've got window coverings 30 to 40% off. And you know they've got carpet. Rolls and rolls and rolls and rolls of carpet down there. And I'll guarantee you they can help you beautify and also increase the comfort of your home. Please stop in and talk to the professionals at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more. 459 Overland and Burley. They're waiting to serve you at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more. I've got a dear friend in Austin, Texas that I absolutely think the world of. He's very outspoken, and I like that. His name is Randy Gibbons, and he is I want to say this right, I believe a professor of sociology. Good morning, Randy. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Zeb. How are you?
Well, I'm not bad. How's everything down in Texas this time of the year? The humidity started to fade a little bit, and it's real pleasant, isn't it?
Yes, sir. It's a little bit warmer than normal, but I enjoy it. I don't like cold weather at all.
Randy,
the fog's burned away and the sun's shining outside, and the world is well.
All right. Well, the world is well as far as the weather forecast is concerned. But, Randy, the reason I wanted you to come on the program this morning, especially after I watched the interview last night with Leon Panetta and Bill O'Reilly, and honestly, I summed it up with my last guest, it created a lot of fear in me that we are not a protected country because of a complete lack of leadership from the Oval Office. Obama is not doing the job. I'll let you pick it up from there.
Yes, sir. And one thing that's critically important, and let me lead with it before I forget, is it's about 27 days till Election Day. And Obama, but he sure is. And we need to keep that in mind, and those who we vote for or those who we vote against. But it's important that anybody who's listening that is concerned about the condition of our country to make sure that they go to the polls and vote. And they take like-minded individuals with them and make sure that they go to the polls and vote so that we can hopefully at least wrest the Senate away from Obama's party and maybe be able to corral or at least minimize the damage that he's planning on doing in the next 2 years.
Randy, I am not trying to be facetious at any point here. I'm just asking an honest question. I've been in this business for a long, long time, and I've been trying to get people to go to the polls and urge them to be Americans and vote for the candidate of their choice. I'm running out of different ways to try to get them to go to the polls. It's absolutely pathetic to look at 19, 21, 24%. We should be seeing 75 to 80% in these critical elections. What more can the media do to get the people to turn out?
I don't know that the media can do it. They can try. But of course you got to understand is that they are generally very liberal leaning, and so maybe it might not be to their advantage in this election unless they can address it to their liberal constituencies. But I would suggest is that community leaders that are well respected and that local folks will listen to, preachers. There was a recent protest where preachers spoke from the pulpit in defiance of the IRS and urged their people to go vote and to take an active part in the community and in their elections. Because we've got to get trust back in our government. We've got to have people who are responsible. And right now, we don't have it. I just, this morning, got a link to a Judge Janine segment on Ebola, and she just ripped me a new one. It was Fox News on October the 5th is the date of it. But the thing of it is with Ebola is that we need to understand this is a new strain of Ebola. All Ebola is not the same. And I believe is that a lot of folks are assuming that it has the same characteristics as previous versions, but it may not be that way. Some of the leading scientists could say is that in a closed area, such as an airplane compartment, is that it might, if somebody is coughing, is that some of it can become airborne. And that also, that the more people that it goes through as it expands outwards, in other words, it affects one person, the next person, and the next person, is that it can mutate and assume forms that we've never seen before. And this is not to have everybody locking their doors and becoming hermits right now, but the thing is
we need to understand is that there's limited knowledge. The other thing is, look at what happened in the Dallas area, a large urban area with modern hospitals and supposedly medical care and knowledge, and they screwed up constantly on taking care of that patient from Liberia. And then the people who were sent in to clean it up were seen in hazmat suits with the sleeves rolled up. And then the guy that was cleaning up the vomit days after the guy was there was using a pressure washer, essentially, which then aerosoled it and then washed it down the sewer, the storm sewer, instead of cleaning it up.
Yes.
The mayor, who's a liberal, went into the apartment where the family was, where this guy had been sick, and there, without any protective gear, stayed with them for hours in the apartment, then loaded him up in his personal car and drove them to their new home, and then went and loaded his 9-year-old daughter in the same car, and he wore the same clothes at a press conference. So showing us that maybe that wasn't the smartest thing to do. They say is that the Ebola virus can last for hours on some surfaces, and I question whether they've taken this strain of the Ebola virus and tested it to see how long does it last on what surfaces and what cleaning agents will kill it.
Mm-hmm.
They're using a lot of chlorine, but chlorine doesn't kill everything. So we need a government that we can trust to tell us the truth, and this guy is not. One of the leading White House spokesmen was on TV this weekend, and he was challenged with trusting government in the announcer or host about 5 major screw-ups of the Obama administration. And the guy said, but see, we reacted and we've taken care of those.
Yeah.
And the host pointed out is we don't need a reactive government, we need a proactive government.
Randy, right there, let me interrupt you. I need to ask you a question when you said we need a proactive government. I noticed something on television last night I wanted to ask you about this morning before I forget. I noticed on Greta Van Susteren last night, your governor, Rick Perry, was a guest to talk about this Ebola problem in the state of Texas. I noticed a man that looked extremely frustrated. I noticed a man that looked extremely mad. And I noticed a man that looked like somebody had blindsided him with a Sunday punch. I noticed a real animosity, Rick Perry, last night against the federal government more so than ever before. Tell me if I'm wrong in what I thought I saw on his face last night.
I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. Today's paper, Austin paper, has a big article that the Texas Senate committee has been holding hearings on this thing and trying to get to the bottom of it. And it's a case of who's in charge, who communicated what, who didn't what. And when dealing with the federal government's response, they sent in 10 people from the CDC. And who's in charge, who's doing it, who made sure that they weren't doing those mistakes that I just talked about. And I have not heard of any updated briefings, training being distributed by CDC to every hospital and public health care worker in the United States with mandatory training requirements. So looking at the ignorance and stupidity done by the people in Dallas, you multiply that by all the towns and cities across the United States, and especially where people are traveling from those African countries, and then you can see is that we could have a heck of a problem.
Randy, if you think I'm wrong on this, don't hesitate to tell me, but I do not understand, and I've mentioned this to Doug Johnson just a minute ago, my first guest the last hour, the three words that are so simply put: close the borders. close the borders. We don't know who's coming across. We don't know what diseases they're bringing. We don't know if it's ISIS, and in many cases now we're finding out possibly ISIS is using the southern border. But we've got now Ebola virus strains here in this country. We've got the enterovirus coming in, which is a paralytic virus comparable to polio. We don't know who's bringing it in. Why in the world is it so difficult that at this time, with all the scares that we have, we can't close the borders? What is so hard about that?
In the fall of 2008, right before the election, Barack Obama said, vote for me, paraphrase, vote for me so that I can fundamentally change this country forever. And it would go against everything that he's been trying to do to close the border. And I apologize, I just got a copy this morning, emailed me from a website where the Southern Command, Southcom commander, speaking at the National Defense University in Washington, D.C., expressed concerns that the Ebola outbreak in Central America could cause mass migration in the United States. And he goes on to point out is that there is a pipeline that includes people from Africa moving through Central America into the United States across the border that Obama has refused to close. It's Marine General John Kelly, and he said that if you think those kids coming across the summer was a problem, wait until Ebola gets into Central America like Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, and the people will then flee, and they're going to head towards the United States where we've got better medical care. And
you know, Randy, when you look at this situation of the Ebola crisis, health crises coming into this country from our borders, our involvement overseas in the mid... We lost the call. Oh, dear.
Get him back.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I heard it wavering just a moment. I'll do a quick commercial while Gina is so dedicated to getting our guest back on. Thank you very much. Talk about dedication. That's Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Dean Cameron, Todd Siemens, life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. They are dedicated and responsive to your needs. Very accessible and devoted to serving others. That's the proof right there, because they are the best. The professionals, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Number to call for an appointment, 436-4424. 436-4424. Cell phone cut off, but we have him back, and we're visiting with Randy Givens down in Austin, Texas. Randy, just before we got cut off, I was just mentioning we've got all these fears with health concerns coming into our country and literally infecting our populace. And at the same time, we've got fears on national security. We've got fears on a war that could turn into Armageddon in the Middle East. We've got a president that basically leaves the office, leaves the door unlocked, and goes to another Democratic fundraiser. What kind of absolute destitute leadership is this?
It's absurd, and we need better. But did you hear the piece I was telling you about where the Southern Command commander, talking at the National Defense University, said we got a major problem on the southern border because Ebola or people from Africa are in that pipeline, and it could cause an infection in Central America, which would then cause our border to be overwhelmed.
Yes.
To Marine General Kelly said.
Yes, yes. But, you know, Randy, when you stand up in front of the class at your school and you look out at these young people and you look at all the hazards and you look at the lack of leadership with this government and you look at the value of America diminishing, are we in your opinion, the darkest days that we've seen in the last maybe 60, 70 years?
I would agree with that. Yes, sir. It's not like it should be. There are changes. Yes, sir. Societies evolve and all of that. But the basic functions right now of protecting this country and supporting its values as we do that, it's not being done. And that, I believe, for their political agenda of changing the United States and forever making the Democratic Party the dominant one by importing what they see as Democrats is a threat to our national security. And they put other countries ahead of us. When the president of Mexico refers to the United States as the other Mexico, and we're told is that we won't seal our borders to travelers from Liberia, is that because it might hurt the economy of Liberia? That's absurd.
Randy, when you look at the situation of we've got 2 more years left with this man and his administration, and we've got a caller with a question. I want to get the caller on, but just remember this, and I'll have you answer it after the call. We've got 2 more years left. This man could do and might do anything in that next 2 years with executive powers that could lead us down a trail that we'll never heal up from.
Yes, sir. And the other side of that is he has loaded the courts with Democratic judges, liberal judges, and so that even though he may not be able to get another appointee if Ginsburg refuses to retire, is that he is changing the judicial system by putting people in there who interpret the Constitution in a way that it wasn't intended.
Absolutely. Caller, go ahead with your question quickly, please.
Yeah, 2 points. They said on a show other than Fox last night, they were talking about the fact that if by restricting free travel from Africa to America, that would be racist to restrict it. And then also we have to restore or to, in other words, we have to take care of these people any way we can, and it's, even if that means bringing the disease here because of we are so, guilty of slavery. See, we've got to restore what we've done, the terrible things we've done, and I'll hang up. Thanks.
I am so sick and tired of looking back and saying what happened in the past I've got to pay for today. Randy, what are your thoughts about what the caller just said?
Well, it's a common tactic. Think of Saul Alinsky, and his teachings is to change the subject, change the wording, turn it around on people. So if we say, seal the border, don't let people in that are a threat to our health and welfare, it's that all of a sudden we're racist. And they have primed the system, the network, our attitudes in our schools, that anything that they term as racist is bad. So therefore, good becomes bad. It's a simple technique of trying to change it and program it, and it's worked.
Randy, one final thought, and I absolutely value your friendship and also your very open statements on my program, but as a teacher with younger people at colleges and high schools, what's the attitude out there? I've watched some of these man-on-the-street interviews, and I watched one last night where they went up to Harvard University students, and Harvard University students basically were blaming America for all the ills in the world today, and they're saying America is at fault, and America is dangerous. What happened to pride in our country with the younger generation?
Look at the National Board for the Nationalized Test that have just changed the American history standards to where, one, it's like what Howard Zinn does, is preaches is that we're evil because we killed off the Native Americans and we sucked resources out of the third world. That's being taught throughout our educational system. You have Bill Ayers, the terrorist and friend of Barack Obama, as a respected professor of education at the University of Chicago, and he spread his poison across the country as our education system has been poisoned. Fortunately, the kids that I'm teaching are coming from Central Texas schools in predominantly rural areas, and it hasn't reached that far. but I've got a nephew in Austin that is full of that stuff, and it's difficult to reach them once they've been programmed that way.
Absolutely. Quick question, short answer. Randy Gibbons, how's your health? You sound better today than you did the last time I had you on the air. How you feeling, buddy?
I'm feeling great. Yeah, I keep going back to MD Anderson every 2 months, and they take CAT scans and do all sorts of blood work tests and everything else. And it's like, you're fine here. Go home, take these pills, come back in 2 months.
Oh, good.
So,
well,
I'm due back the end of this month, but knock on wood, don't expect any changes.
Well, I want you to know that my prayers and my wife's prayers are with you, my dear friend. God's blessings to you. Thank you for taking the time to come on the show. I'll have you back more often. Thank you, Randy Gibbons down in Texas. God bless you, man.
Thanks, Ed. Bye.
Take care. Just a really sharp man, sociology professor at the University of Texas and other areas down there, and Randy Gibbons, and I'm proud to call him my friend. The reason I asked that question at the end of the interview was that Randy had gone through, for the last 3 years, terrible, gut-wrenching experience with cancer, and it was nip and tuck for a while, and God's blessings upon him, and he's starting to kick cancer, and that's why I asked him how his health is, and he says, clean bill of health, looking good. He's always had a very optimistic answer and attitude. We got to have the weather forecast, and the weather is brought to you this hour by our friends at Lennox Home Comfort Systems with gas furnaces, air conditioners, and heat pumps, all through our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459. You will enjoy the comfort of Lennox through Ramsey Heating and Electric. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Good morning. Michael Rogers for Zeb at the ranch. Starting to sound like a broken record. Yeah, I told you it's going to be sunny all week, and it's going to be sunny all week. Temperatures are kind of back and forth between mid-70s, low to mid-70s. Overnight lows are very comfortable. And it's fall. Daylight savings time, Sunday. You lose an hour. I'm sorry, it happens. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Lennox Home Comfort Systems with Ramsey Heating and Electric, and that's, of course, at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Gina, are you right there by your telephone?
You mean the microphone?
That would be another good choice.
Yes.
I think Michael's wrong on that. We actually fall back and gain an hour. We don't lose an hour.
No, we don't lose an hour. Actually, we get an extra hour of sleep.
Why don't you, when he calls tomorrow, say, Michael, we have had a board of directors meeting, and you are wrong on your losing an hour, because in the fall, we fall back, and so actually, if you go to bed at 10 o'clock and you reset your clock, you're actually setting it at 9 o'clock.
We're talking to a guy who's been in 3 different time zones in the past year. He doesn't even know what time it is.
You know what, Gina? That's a very good point. He might be still sitting on the beach in Alaska trying to catch a cod.
You never know.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see, what else have we got cooking here this morning? I was going to ask you about something else, too, and I forget. Oh, I had a news note from a lady up in Fairfield, and I wanted you to respond to this. A lady in Fairfield sent a note while we were on the air with Randy Gibbons, and she said, quote, as long as our president never has to personally suffer the consequences of his decisions, nothing will change. If there's an Ebola outbreak, he and his family will be safe and snug under the Denver airport.
Yeah, and it's true, too. He doesn't have to worry about it.
You know, and really, that bothers me a lot, because it's so truthful that people in power, they have the amenities and they also have the wherewithal and the locations to protect themselves, and basically, and I don't mean to sound crass, but it's the truth, to hell with the general public.
And that's pretty much their philosophy.
Yeah. Caller will take quickly. I've only got a minute and a half. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, isn't the time change the first Sunday in November, or did they change that?
You know something?
It's first Sunday in November.
When you said that, I had thought it was the first Sunday in November, and then Michael said this Sunday, and I'm going, I didn't know that they changed it.
It's on the 2nd. I just looked at the calendar. It's on the 2nd.
2nd of November?
Yes.
Aha! Adrian, you and I were right. We're going to correct Michael again tomorrow.
Well, yeah, I'd never heard. Of course, things happen, but I wish they would go back the way it used to be, was the first part of October, and then in the spring, we go the second Sunday in March, and that's totally ridiculous.
Well, now we've got to confirm this. I've got to confirm it real quick. That thank you, Adrian Arp, for calling in. It will be a time change on the 2nd of November where we fall back. We turn our clocks back, and we actually gain an hour. Adrian, I got to run to the news. Thanks. God bless you, man. Thank you so much. I'm glad he called, and it is November 2nd. Thank you, Gina, for looking that up, too. And we will tell our weatherman to reset his watch. Anyhow, we're going to take a little break right now, and when we come back, we're going to be talking to a Washington economist back in D.C. His name is Stephen Moore, and he's going to be talking about Hong Kong. Hong Kong, their economy is absolutely thriving. I mean, they're making so much money they can't stand it. Why? And why can't we do that here? We're going to talk to him about that. And then, don't forget again, at 10:30 this morning, Brian Fairchild, former CIA operative, very interesting at 10:30 this morning. I'll be back in 6. Don't go away. Okay, hour number 3. I love that music. Man, it dropped. I mean, it's gone by music. And Gina's so used to me just sitting there letting it play. Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, and our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Oberlin in Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call them, 734-6969. Get rid of your garbage. Really good, folks. We've got our guest ready in just a moment, but before we do, I'm so doggone hungry right now. And then I pick up the menu for the Chadwick Sports Grill, and I go, holy cow, does this sound good. Pulled pork and chili nachos with choice of super salad today at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. I got to say that again. It sounds so good. Pulled pork and chili nachos with the choice of super salad, along with other great menu items at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Really delicious. Let's go to the phone lines right now, and we have with us an economist that I'm really anxious to talk to this morning. He's the man that knows how to crunch the numbers and tell us what's good, bad, and ugly. And here we have Mr. Stephen Moore. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Every time I talk to an economist, I'm always afraid that because my degree is not in economy, you're going to leave me in the dust. So try to talk to me in layman's terms because I'm an old cowboy, okay?
Sure.
Okay. You know, why is it, Stephen, I hope you don't mind if I call you Stephen, why is it that when a country or a nation is doing really well, I mean, man, they're doing great, they're making money, they don't owe anybody, they're doing a great job, all of a sudden a bunch of nitwits try to tear them apart. That's the case of what's going on over in Hong Kong. Bring us up to speed as to what's going on over there.
Well, I think that's a pretty good summary that, Hong Kong has become the freest among the 3 or 4 freest and most prosperous places on the planet. Anyone who's been to Hong Kong knows that. It's an amazing place. It has very little in terms of natural resources, but it has incredible markets and industrious people and, an amazing amount of foreign capital going into that little island of Hong Kong, and the average Hong Kong resident is 3 or 4 times richer than the average person in mainland China, where there's still an authoritarian regime and shackles on the economy by Beijing. And so what's happening, the quick story there is that, when back, I think it was in 1997, when Britain ceded back control of Hong Kong to China, the Chinese said they would leave Hong Kong alone. But now that Hong Kong wants free and open elections, which is, I would argue, a basic human right, the Chinese government is in a very Stalinistic or Maoist way stomping down on the people of Hong Kong and saying you can't elect the people you want.
So this situation with Hong Kong and China, it's nothing more than a couple of words, jealousy and greed, is it not?
I think that's a good way to describe it. I think it's, not just jealousy and greed, I think it's also control.
Yeah.
The Chinese rulers in Beijing are control freaks. They want control over Hong Kong, and by the way, they also want control over Taiwan, which is another big national security issue for the United States. And I would like to see the American government at least more forcefully denouncing the Chinese government and saying that you're acting like a bunch of spoiled brats, and this is a breaking the deal that was made many years ago that you would leave Hong Kong to its own affairs. And when Hong Kong is left to its own affairs, people get rich, and people are people want to go to Hong Kong because it's just such a prosperous place. But they want to control this island, and they want to control Taiwan, and they want to eventually control all of Asia.
What is the politics right there, Stephen, as far as when you say the word control and politics from the mainland China, what is the thumbs down or thumbs up or the control factor over Hong Kong from China?
Well, that's a good question, and I think that, it's a little amorphous about what kind of control they are able to legally exert over Hong Kong. I do worry that that the Chinese want to basically rule Hong Kong, and I think if that happens, they'll strip away a lot of the free market policies and the free trade policies that have made Hong Kong such a wealthy place. And look, I believe in home rule. If people in Hong Kong want to elect their own leaders, why shouldn't they be able to? Just like in Idaho, you're able to elect your own governor. And so this is the way the Chinese governments have been for almost 100 years now. They're incredibly dictatorial. They repress human rights. This is not a regime that respects and honors freedom.
Well, let me ask you this, Stephen, in the situation, and I apologize, I don't know as much about their politics as I should, but I would imagine that mainland China probably is getting a piece of the poker pie without having to pick up any cards. In other words, they're getting a percentage back to them from Hong Kong, and they're not having to do any work or anything. Is that correct?
Well, there's some of that, yeah. I mean, because Hong Kong is so rich, and, there's no question that China benefits from Hong Kong because Hong Kong provides all sorts of trade with China. It brings in goods and services. It buys goods and services. So it's a central element to the Chinese economy, and it's a cog in that machine. But they just don't get freedom. That's the point. Freedom creates its own momentum, and I think that the Chinese are really worried about, the Chinese people, not just in Hong Kong, but in the mainland, demanding more political freedom and economic freedom and human rights. And, China is still a very repressive government. Let's face it. I mean, let's not sugarcoat this. These are some bad guys they still, they've never renounced their one-child policy, one of the greatest violations of human rights in history. They still throw, dissidents in prison without trials, and I could go on and on.
Yeah, but you said something a few moments ago, if I may digress, and it really piqued my interest. You said that, and I'm paraphrasing, not to remember your exact quote, but you said something like, it's a shame that the United States isn't denouncing China for the way that they're treating Hong Kong. And then I got to thinking about your statement, and I thought, it's pretty hard for us, the United States, to denounce anybody that we owe the company store to because of our borrowing money from them.
Well, I mean, that's one of the problems with all this borrowing we're doing in Washington, right? I mean, look, if the Chinese want to sell their bonds, fine, go ahead, do it. Be my guest. The interest rates are low. We can recirculate those bonds. I mean, I would make the case that they're more beholden to us than we are to them because they hold our bonds, and so. But that is what a lot of people in Washington say. Oh, we can't upset the Chinese because they own all our bonds. That's crazy. I mean, we have to stand up as a nation for what's right. And I'm not saying that we should get involved militarily or anything like that. I'm just saying we should stand up for human rights. We should stand up for freedom and say that, you know, this act of preventing free elections in Hong Kong is not an act that you would expect from a country that wants to be part of the civilized world.
Absolutely. But there again, therein lies the problem with this current administration. I'm going to be very blunt and honest with you, Stephen, that I don't see anything as far as negativity coming out of that Oval Office with Barack Obama. He's too timid. He absolutely hasn't shown any strength on any subject as he's bowed to foreign leaders and kowtowed to their whims. And I don't see anybody in this administration telling China or any other country how to stand in line and wait for a ticket.
Well, that's true. I mean, it's certainly true what you just said, but I would say it's not just Obama. I think, other presidents like Bush and others have never really stood up to the Chinese. And, we have to recognize them as a country. I mean, they're building up their military. They're becoming, they've got this deal with Russia now to build, hundreds of billions of dollars of pipelines so they can have the energy that they need and try to become energy dominant. I think we have to be more worried about China in terms of what direction are they going to go. Are they going to move in the direction of freedom, or are they going to move in the direction of repression and military dominance? And that is something that we should be watchful of. And when they send the military into Hong Kong, that should be a very, very much a warning signal to us.
Stephen, when you look at the situation around the globe and you look at what we used to be in this country, entrepreneurs that would get our hands dirty, roll up our sleeves and get the job done the American way. And then you look at what Hong Kong is trying to do, and they're making money, they're prospering, etc., and there's a thumb down on them now from mainland China. Pretty soon all the dominoes are going to be laying flat on the table, and nobody is going to be doing anything to enhance entrepreneurship, and it's going to be a game where we're under repressive control economically around the world. Would you agree?
Well, I hope you're wrong. I'd like to think that freedom is on the march in the world, and, there are places where freedom is becoming more prominent. But you're right. You always have to be vigilant about protecting those freedoms, as we learned last week from events in Hong Kong. And, but my goodness, we should be free here in the United States. But think of all the things we've done. We've adopted this massive government-run healthcare system called Obamacare, and we've got the big tax increase on the, quote, rich, and we've got all these new regulations coming out of the EPA regulating, power plants all over the country. And so I'm not so sure we're so free anymore. In fact, at the Heritage Foundation where I work, we have the index of economic freedom of all the countries in the world, and the United States is only like number 10 on that list.
I'm so glad you brought up energy, and that lets me have a little escape to get over to one of my favorite subjects. I have said for a long time on this program that under this administration, and quite frankly in some of the previous, this reliance and moving to solar and wind power is absolute insanity. You're not going to have an agricultural program, for instance, that's going to be able to put a propeller on a John Deere tractor and get down a field so that we can harvest our crops and feed the world. And this is the complete imbecilic idiocy that's being perpetrated by this current administration.
You and I think alike. I think that here we are in the biggest energy boom in our country's history with all the oil and gas shale that we have and the massive amounts of coal we have. And all they're talking about in Washington is trying to stick a knife in the back of those industries. And, you're there in the great Northwest where you have so much resources that the federal government isn't allowing us to use. And that will put us at a great competitive disadvantage if we don't use our resources, which we have such a super abundance of. And then, why wouldn't we drill for our own oil and gas rather than buy it from ISIS and countries that are trying to kill us?
As an economist, when you look at where we are today, and we've still got 2 more years left, unfortunately, of Obama at the helm. But then you look further than that, and the possibility of maybe Hillary and her plans, or maybe an unknown Republican right now. I mean, what does the future look like for an economist for this great country to get back on track and start acting like we used to?
Well, we have to resume our position as the world economic superpower. You know, we've relinquished that a bit in recent years because our economy just hasn't performed the way it should. But I'm optimistic about the future. I don't want your listeners to think that we don't have a great future. We do. I mean, we've got this energy revolution where within 5 or 6 years, if we had a pro-energy production president, we could be the energy dominant country in the world. We have incredible technology. Our manufacturing is doing better. All we need to do is get Washington out of the way. Just get Washington out of the way, and we'll see a resumption of growth. And that may take a new election, probably in 2 years. So we have a president who understands business and likes business and speaks up for business. But once we do, I think we're going to see a big, big boom in this country.
All right. I want to invite you back anytime you will come. That's Stephen Moore.
Anytime. It's a pleasure talking to you, and it's nice to know there are people out there in the media like yourself that have your head screwed on right, and just stay out of Washington because there's something in the water here that I think affects people's thinking.
All right, sir. God bless you, and thank you so much, and I'll be in touch. I appreciate your being on the program. Thank you. Economist Stephen Moore from back in Washington, D.C., and I'm going to keep his name and number, and we're going to have him on a more regular basis. Pretty sharp guy, and thinks that there is hope for this great country to turn our economy around. I hope so. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We haven't had a chance over the last couple of days. We've been so doggone busy getting various things in. I haven't hardly had a chance to visit with Gina and find out what's going on with her and find out if she's fixing a new car, find out her negatives and positives. How you doing over there, kid?
I'm tired.
Thanks for coming on the program, Gina.
No, not working on any new vehicles at this particular moment in time. We will pick up work again on my little brother's 67 Malibu.
Okay.
Because we still haven't finished that project. And just been canning this week, and that's about it.
What are you canning?
Sweet pickle relish.
You made some of that for me a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man, yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
I've been making that, and tonight, I think, if the man comes down from Twin, then we may go bowling. If he does not, then I'll just continue on with the canning process.
Bowling?
Bowling.
You guys bowl?
You bet.
You gotta be kidding me.
Kennedy actually loves to go bowling.
You know what?
We all go bowling.
I said that kind of satirically, but I love to go bowling.
I love bowling.
Now, a lot of people are going to say, Zeb, wait a minute. You can't bowl because you're on crutches. Yes, I can. I carry the ball up to the foul stripe, and then I let her go.
Yes, and that's what Kennedy does, too.
Yeah.
Or sometimes we'll get out that, they have that little helper for the kids, that ramp.
Yeah.
We'll pull that out for him. But now he's actually, we've been renting a little ball that's light enough for him to actually throw, and so we've been working on that.
We used to, believe it or not, Deanna and I used to belong to a bowling league.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not kidding you. Sometime James and you and Kennedy and myself and Deanne, we'll all have to go bowling, but you don't want to do two things on a bowling alley.
Which is?
Point and laugh.
This is true. This is very true. But we have a fun time. So if the guy comes down tonight, we're probably going to go bowling. But other than that, probably just kick back at home.
The guy? The guy? Is that what you call him? Why can't you call him? Why don't you call him by his real first name?
James?
Yeah.
I don't know.
He's a nice guy.
He is. Smiling Jim.
What is that, a 32 Ford?
Yes, a 32 Ford pickup.
Yeah.
It's a Model A.
That is and I'll say this, the most unique lawn ornament in Twin Falls.
Isn't it, though?
Yeah.
Isn't it, though? And then, of course, that little metal piece that's sitting out on his lawn ornaments on the side, that's actually an old Fender, 32.
You're kidding me.
No, so that's his yard art.
So now, is the 32 Ford in its finished stages, or is this an ongoing project?
Oh, it's an ongoing project. Every vehicle we have is an ongoing project. But honestly, that old Ford, it's the original engine. It is just the most uncomfortable but fun thing to ride in.
Now, is that the one where, 2 years ago at Easter time, we met you and James for breakfast?
Yes.
And you said something about, when you get in, you got to be careful that your feet don't go through and drag on the pavement?
Yes, that would be the one. Mm-hmm. Because it's got wood. It's actually got wood on the floorboards.
Is there an opportunity when you hit a good bump that possibly more than just your feet might go on the pavement?
Either that or your head's gonna bounce up on the roof. It's like no shocks, no nothing. I mean, this is all old school.
Oh, they didn't have shocks back then?
No, gosh, no. Apparently they didn't believe in the smooth ride.
You mean to tell me you had to absorb physically the punishment inside the cab?
Oh, yes.
I didn't know
that. Absolutely.
Well, when did they develop shock absorbers?
I have no idea. That would be a great question to ask, like Randy Wynn or something.
I did not know
honestly,
that.
I have no idea. That it does not have any shocks or struts. They didn't. So it's a very stiff ride, and so every little bump you feel.
So, in other words, that came into being a little bit later on. They didn't care about your comfort. It was only designed to get you from point A to point B.
Well, prior to that, they were still riding horseback, and you know about horses and their shock absorbers.
Well, yeah, but some elongated horses are a lot more comfortable than going at 35 miles an hour and hitting a rock.
Oh, I know. Like a Tennessee Walker would be a nice smooth ride, but this, no, it's not a smooth ride at all.
So you don't want to travel too far in a 32 Ford?
No, that's just for around town driving, just putzing around and stuff like that. If we were going to go on a cruise, we'll pull out usually the 71 Buick Grand. That's a convertible. Or we like to, if we like to get out into the woods, we'll take out the Scout.
But what about the heater? Did they have heaters back in the 32s?
Yeah, I do believe there is heat, and it comes directly off the engine.
Oh my!
And actually, it heats quite well.
I didn't.
That's one thing it does have is it has great heat.
Yeah, but your windows don't roll all the way up.
No, no, they don't. You know that little truck is rather unique. It's like I said, it's fun to like just putz around in Twin Falls, but for long trips, no way. And if you're going to be out and about, like running a lot of errands, I would definitely.
What would you say a long trip is in that uncomfortable situation? 3 blocks?
Yes, I'd say anything more than like 5 miles is too long in that truck.
I love it. I love it. Oh my! I got one of these days though. I'm going to ask James if I can have a ride in that. I don't even know if I could get in it.
You probably could. You would have to put your crutches in the back, though, probably. But you could probably get in it, but just be prepared that your knees are going to be up against your chest.
I wouldn't want to wear one of my hats, would I?
It'll
Okay.
get crushed.
Okay. All right. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Gina, I'm going to write a book called Gina and the 32 Ford.
There you go.
There you go. We're going to take a little break here in just a second, and we're going to get ready for at the bottom of the hour. We're going to have Brian Fairchild back with us, and he, of course, a former CIA operative, and I'm looking forward to having him on the program. Don't forget Lennox Home Comfort Systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, whether it's an air conditioner or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. All you have to do is call Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459. 678-0459, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Lennox at Ramsey Heating and Electric, serving you. Let's see, I had one other little news note. I lost it. I can't find it. I had it right here on my desk. Well, we'll just say we're going to turn this back over to Gina for a few minutes, and then we're going to come back with our next guest, Brian Fairchild. You stay tuned.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
I keep a book on all of my favorite guests and their telephone numbers, and keep a little jotting in there next to their name as to some of the subjects that we talk about, and so I can have a quick reference in case I need to a guest for this program pertaining to a certain topic. And this man is right at the top of my list of literally hundreds and hundreds of names in that book, because I think he is the most educated and the most honest about what's really going on over in the Middle East, and also what is very possibly going to be taking place here with terrorism in the United States of America. And that's why I'm very fortunate to have former CIA operative Brian Fairchild, not only as a friend but a guest on this program. Good morning, Brian. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. I'm doing just great. How are you doing today?
Well, Brian, I have imposed on you so many times to come on this program, but
Never an imposition, Zeb.
well, I value your information and your knowledge and your forthright ability to tell everybody how it is. I listened last night very intently to the interview that was going on between Leon Panetta and Bill O'Reilly. And I guess what I came away with, and I said this last hour, I came away with one word, and that's fear. I came away with the fear that we are being duped into a situation that is far more serious than what this administration and the media tells us. What are your thoughts about what's going on right now with ISIS and with the lack of leadership by Obama?
Oh boy, I'll tell you. In fact, I'm working on a new analysis now, talking about just that subject. And my fear is, one of the things we do in the United States is in the 24-hour news cycle, is if somebody says, "Oh, geez, I'm afraid they're going to be attacked by ISIS," and it doesn't happen in a day, then people forget it and say, "Well, I guess that was wrong." Well, no, that's not wrong, and we're going to have attacks in the United States. And they're probably going to be coming, pretty soon. Now, nobody can say exactly when, and this isn't just, little Brian Fairchild saying, "Oh, geez, I think these bad guys are going to attack us." I mean, the FBI Director Comey just 2 days ago said that he believes that this Khorasan group is intent on attacking the United States very, very soon. His words were very, very soon. Now, given the situation that Al-Qaeda finds itself in, vis-a-vis al-Baghdadi and the Islamic State, I concur 100%. They are Al-Qaeda, core Al-Qaeda, Ayman al-Zawahiri and core Al-Qaeda are losing relevancy every day to the international jihad. Let me just give you an example, a comparison between the Islamic State and Ayman al-Zawahiri and core Al-Qaeda. In the last 10 days, just the last 10 days, Zeb, using tanks and artillery and heavy weapons, ISIS and al-Baghdadi has, besieged the northern strategically important city of Kobani in Syria, right up next to Turkey. They've seized the city of Heat in Iraq. They besieged the Anbar Operations Center north of Ramadi. They've infiltrated its troops into Abu Ghraib, putting Baghdad airport now within their artillery range. They routed an Iraqi military base called Sakalawiya and killed over 300 Iraqi soldiers, and hundreds more are missing. They destroyed an Iraqi armor column, and of course they publicly beheaded Alan Henning. Now, when you compare Al-Qaeda and core Al-Qaeda, Ayman al-Zawahiri and his al-Nusra front, they're barely on the boards. I mean, they've had a couple of skirmishes against Hezbollah, the Iranian-backed terrorist group Hezbollah, on the Lebanon-Syria border, and they've captured a Franciscan priest and about 20 Christians. I mean, all bad stuff, but you can see when you compare that, if you are an international jihadi and you compare those two records, who are you going to go with? Who are you going to want to join? Well, you're going to want to join al-Baghdadi. And so, because of that, Ayman al-Zawahiri is falling into more and more irrelevancy every day, and the only way he can get back, the only way, Zeb, is for him to attack the United States, and especially if he attacks the United States in the United States. So I'm very worried that those attacks are coming, and it's just inevitable.
All right, now, I've got 1,000 questions and not 1,000 minutes, and I'm apologizing for that because of a limited time. Let me back up just a little bit, and I listened to General Thomas McInerney the other evening on television, and Thomas has been on our program, by the way, and he said that basically, and I'm paraphrasing, that the bombings that we're conducting right now are absolutely not doing any good. It's kind of a hit and miss, mostly miss situation. There's not enough of them. And what we should have done is literally had thousands of bombing strikes when ISIS was coming across that barren wasteland onto the Syrian and Turkey border. We could have obliterated a lot of them. Why didn't we do it then?
We just didn't have the political will, Zeb. And at the time, of course, the president was basically saying that these guys were a junior varsity team, just a regional sectarian problem, nothing that you really have to worry about. So, and of course, at that time, too, Al-Qaeda was on the run. We didn't have any more problems with that sort of thing. In fact, we were going to be winding down the whole war on terror because, as the president said, you couldn't be on a permanent war footing forever. So, we missed the whole opportunity, and, the general is absolutely right. We could have decimated these guys early on, but we didn't take the opportunity.
Let me ask you this, we are what's called in the pipeline from Arizona, Utah into Idaho for a lot of illegal aliens. There's been a lot of talk lately, Brian, by Utah Representative Jason Chaffetz and also last night California Representative Duncan Hunter, that ISIS is absolutely using the southern border, the porous Swiss cheese border, to come into Texas or Arizona, etc. How concerned are you, a man that knows far more about this than I think anybody else, how concerned are you that our southern porous borders are absolutely letting all these terrorists in?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I'm terrified. The thing that the southern border allows these guys to do is bring in weapons of mass destruction. I mean, you hear a lot about the fact that there are many Westerners in ISIS that have Western passports and can fly into the country and basically get in that way. But they can't bring poison gas. They can't bring irradiated materials like cesium and cobalt-160. They can't bring in heavy weapons through the airliners and stuff, but they can do all of those things, including man-pads, shoulder-fired anti-aircraft missiles. They can bring those across the southern border. And so it's just it's a matter of time before that happens. It's a matter of time before some terrorist brings across, a man pad and blows out an airliner out of the sky, or brings some sarin gas or VX gas and gasses us in the subways. I mean, it's only a matter of time, Zeb.
Brian, the borders and the situation with the laxity of doing anything with our borders, and then formerly with Janet Napolitano, and now with a guy by the name of Jay Johnson. I got to tell you, I watched him the other evening as he was being interviewed on Fox News with Bret Baier. And Bret Baier asked him specifically about some ISIS terrorists that were caught on the Texas border. And the man started playing a Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers dance routine. He kept dancing around the answers. He was nervous. He started to sweat. He turned red in the face. He didn't know the answers. What kind of a Homeland Security chief have we got?
No, I agree 100%. In fact, I think the whole creation of Homeland Security and the taking all of the security wings, the security agencies under that one bureaucratic wing was just a terrible thing to do. We always have this idea that centralizing things in government is necessarily a good thing, but it isn't. Once you've got all these people centralized on a single budget and overseen by bureaucrats, it's just a matter of time before standards start going down. And I think that Homeland Security was a big mistake. I think that it has made the country less safe overall, and it's just not it's not the way to go for the United States of America. And I agree that Jay Johnson doesn't seem to have his finger on the pulse of the security situation in the United States.
Let me ask you, Brian, and I know you've probably done a lot of research on this, but there are those that are saying, oh, well, we can't stop or stymie illegal aliens from coming into this country. We need them. You know what? That's balderdash. Right now, we have to be worried about our national security. Right now, we have to be worried about somebody bringing in a dirty bomb or whatever, like you said. But what is so hard? You've traveled all over the world. What is so hard with securing our southern border?
It's a political, yeah, well, as you well know, it's a political situation. If we wanted to control our borders, we could. Do we need foreigners to come in and do jobs that, our American citizens can't do? Even some of the highest tech jobs, yes, that's true. But there are mechanisms in place to do that. You don't have to have a porous border with illegals coming, pouring across every day, drugs coming across every day, terrorists coming in every day. You don't need to have that. You can have a border that's controlled. You can have mechanisms in place that all countries have in place to bring the kind of foreigners you need into the country to do the kind of jobs that they can do. But you don't need to have a porous border, and you don't need to make the border a political football. And that's exactly what we've done. And it's mind-boggling, Zeb, how the world's biggest superpower can be, have such a sieve at the southern border.
Let me ask you this, Brian, and don't laugh at me on this because it's kind of far-fetched, but yet in reality, I thought about it last night. We're looking at right now, and I said earlier this morning, some of the darkest days for this country since World War II. We're seeing a tearing apart of our moral fabric in this country. We're seeing a tearing apart of all the values that our forefathers have fought and died for. We're seeing a involvement factor of where everybody's trying to get us over here, over there, over here, and take our troops and deplete our military. And we're now seeing Ebola come into this country. We're seeing the entire virus that's a paralyzing virus take over this country. Is this some way to bring the United States down? Is this a concentrated plan?
Well, I don't believe it's a concentrated plan, although I believe that we as a nation, for a long time, we've been heading down this path. And under both administrations, I think this administration is like the worst administration I've ever experienced, and I'm just hoping that we can survive the next 2 years. But since 1991, since the Soviet Union went away, our strategic posture has continually eroded. Presidents have not, spent as much attention on the situation overseas and on foreign policy because we had beaten the Soviets. The Cold War was over. Now we could deal with China on a business level. For instance, I was listening to your interview with your last guest about China. I've had some experience in China, and China is a communist country. I mean, it may be using capitalist methods right now for, its economy, but it is a communist country run by the Communist Party, and it's bent on dominating Eastern Asia. So, but we've dealt with China all these years as an economic possibility. Imagine, Zeb, if you could sell, if one widget could be sold to every Chinese, how many billionaires you'd have in this country. So people looked at China as not a threat, but as a potential business partner. And of course, China took the business and built up their military capabilities at the same time.
When you said it a minute ago, and I want you to elaborate on it just a little bit, Brian. You said we've still got 2 more years left with Obama and this administration. But like Leon Panetta was very, very fearful of Obama. He said that he's a bright man, he's an intelligent man, but he doesn't have basically, and I'll paraphrase here, the guts to literally pull the trigger when needed. Do you see that in Obama?
I do, and I don't know if it's a matter of guts, or I don't know if it's a matter of ideology. I don't know if the man is a clinical narcissist, maybe a combination of all of those. But certainly, for whatever reason, and I think that we will find out the reasons as time goes on, the inner circle, Obama's inner circle, is going to come out. Some of those guys are going to start writing books, just like Panetta did. Only these will be the domestic advisors, and I think that we're going to be surprised and shocked, or maybe not surprised and shocked, but vindicated often when we find out what's actually been going on in the White House. But as a leader, the man is not up to the job. I mean, that's my personal opinion. I don't have the evidence to back it up other than the evidence we all see every day. But, certainly our stature in the world has degraded under his leadership. Our strategic capabilities have degraded under his leadership. Our, domestic capabilities and dissension, within America has grown under his leadership. So, that's how I see, this administration.
And Brian, with that, the dissension, would you also agree with me that I'm just absolutely shocked by the American attitude of complacency and literally naivete and sitting back and saying, ho-hum, let's have a dish of ice cream and watch the NFL on Sunday afternoons. When we are at war, we've got people that are trying to kill us. We've got people that are infiltrating our border. We've got people that are trying to infiltrate our government. We've got the North Koreans. We've got a mess all around the globe. Why aren't Americans more involved in trying to protect themselves?
Well, they absolutely should be, and of course, the basic reason is there's no leadership within the U.S. government. There's no one at the helm who I remember times in my life, Zeb, and I know you do in yours, where presidents would come on TV. All the programming would be taken off, and they would explain to us what some difficult problem was and why it was difficult, why it was a problem, what our strategic response was going to be, and why. And I can't remember the last time I've ever seen that kind of leadership. So without the leadership, you have an American citizenry that basically is, fine with, let's go have that bowl of ice cream, and watch the latest NFL game, because as far as they're concerned, everybody's telling them in Washington everything's okay. There's no problem. There are a couple of little regional problems here and there, but we'll take care of it. And I'm talking with the Iranians. Don't you worry about those nuclear weapons. And so we're not dealing with our best buddies, the Israelis, anymore. But don't worry, they're resilient people. They'll get by. I mean, it's total lunacy as far as I can see, Zeb. And some days it's just hard to watch the news and continue on.
Now, you've been a part of the news, and you've been invited to speak on various programs like Glenn Beck and also Neil Cavuto. What are they asking? Are they as concerned as what I am here in the Northwest? Are they asking the same kinds of questions? Are they asking and purporting the same kind of worries? What are their questions when you get on their programs?
Yeah, well, with both Beck and Neil Cavuto, absolutely. I mean, I believe both of them as individuals are concerned about these topics and are trying to explore these topics. Now, when it gets to Fox News and the 24-hour news cycle, they're also looking for people. It's a constant revolving door of guests going on those shows, and they're trying to get as many guests as possible to make a few comments. So, the 24-hour news cycle, Fox News, those kind of guys, they're not doing terribly in-depth, types of programs. Where Beck, on the other hand, does actually do a considerable number of in-depth investigative pieces on terrorism, on the Muslim Brotherhood in the United States, and on ISIS and the different aspects of terrorism going on today. So yes, they are concerned, and they are moving forward on this.
What are your projects for the future? And we'll wrap it up here for today, Brian, but I know you have excellent writing capabilities, and your blog is absolutely supreme. Is there a book in the works, or what do you really hope to achieve in the next couple of years?
Well, yeah, I'm working on a book. I've got a couple of irons in the fire as far as that's concerned. I'd kind of like to get out of my office and do some speaking, engagements around the country, every once in a while, just to get me out and around. So, that would be fun. But I think it's also important to get the message out to people. And, you're one of the few people that I know, Zeb, who takes as much time, and certainly, I'm so happy to be, one of your guests and to be your friend, because you give me so much time to explain these problems, and that's what's key. That's what's missing in the equation here in the United States, is these topics are very complex topics, and it takes more than a soundbite to explain to people what the problem is and why things are going the way they are. And you're one of the few people that allow, your guests to do that, and well, thank you so much, brother. I mean, I can't tell you how important that is.
Well, I'm the one that's honored to have you on the program, and anything and everything that you write, I just keep in a notebook. I cherish it because you are a man with great knowledge as to what's going on in the world today. Brian Fairchild, please know that I'll be imposing on your time schedule again in the very near future. Thank you so much for being on the show this morning.
Okay, like I say, Zeb, it's never an imposition, and it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
God bless you, my dear friend. Thank you very much. Wow. There's a man that, like I said just a moment ago, I really treasure his friendship and also his knowledge as to what's going on in the world today. Former CIA operative Brian Fairchild, and he is a regular on this program. I appreciate him. Oh, my goodness, we've got to get the weather in here. And the weather this hour is brought to you by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, selling taste one bite at a time. Oh, my goodness sakes, they guarantee everything they sell, and you've got to try one of their tri-tips. I'd lay down in the middle of Highway 30 for a tri-tip. My goodness, it's delicious. You're going to love them. They're great food, and they're great meats, locally owned and operated, custom meat processor for over 20 years. Selling taste one bite at a time. Scarro's Meats. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Good morning. Michael Rogers for Zeb at the ranch. Starting to sound like a broken record. I told you it's going to be sunny all week, and it's going to be sunny all week. Temperatures are kind of back and forth between mid-70s, low to mid-70s. Over that lows are very comfortable. And it's fall. Daylight savings time, Sunday. You lose an hour. I'm sorry, it happens. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
All right, an update on that. As we said, Michael was in error on that, and it's not this Sunday, it's November 2nd, and we fall back, we gain an hour. Okay, I just want to make that correction again and not get anybody too nervous about this Sunday. And, of course, the weather brought to you this hour by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657, selling taste one bite at a time. Absolutely. Oh, we also want to remind you about our friends at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I'm just going to take a minute here to tell you these are wonderful people. You pull on the property and I'll guarantee you somebody's going to come out the door at a high lope. May we help you? Yes, they can. With the best of tires, they got a great big tire sale going on right now. Yep, all the tires, all the different tread designs, they're on sale for your pickup, your car, your SUV, horse trailer, whatever. And they've got a lot of the custom wheels on sale, too, to really dress up your four-wheeled wonder. And don't forget, too, about the brake service. Absolutely professionally trained technicians. They know brakes. They all know, too, about front-end alignments and shocks and struts and the best in batteries. Yep. You got to have a good battery with this cold weather coming. You get prepared and stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Got a big day tomorrow. Tomorrow being Thursday, as you know, we have a lot of different segments, and we're going to have an open forum between 8 and 9, and then we got the Chamber of Commerce report. We've got Dog Nation. We've got Starving to Death. We've got Rita Ramsey. We've got Cassia County School Days. Holy smokes, we're going to have an interview with Whitney over at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. We've got all kinds of things. And Then we've got a gentleman coming on the air tomorrow, Lowell Ponte, and I've been looking forward to having him on the air for a long, long time. I believe he's going to be talking about the growing ISIS problem and what we need to do to be prepared out here in the hinterland. So all that coming up tomorrow. Whew, Gina, have you got anything, final great thoughts before we wrap things up for today?
No great thoughts out of me today.
So what are you going to do the rest of the day? Just kind of take off, walk out the green door, and say, I'm out of here?
I've got 3 other shows to do, and then, the rest of the day.
3 other shows?
I'm on 4 stations.
You are on 4 stations?
Yes.
My goodness. Let's see now. What hours do you have these programs?
Okay, well, obviously, I have Zeb at the Ranch from 8 until 11. I'm on Hot 100 from 10 until 3.
Oh.
I'm on Cat Country on the weekends, and then 7 to midnight on The Edge, Monday through Friday.
Well, I don't want excuses. I want to know what you do in your spare time.
I don't have spare time. I wish I had some. And then if I did have spare time, I'd do nothing.
With Kennedy.
Exactly.
Yeah, how's he doing?
Oh, he's doing great.
Flag football?
Loves flag football. This week they had a bye week. Practice will be on Thursday, and then this weekend he's going to go spend some time with Grandma and Grandpa out in Oakley, and then his next game is going to be on Monday.
And is it true that you already sent a package of information to the Dallas Cowboys and the Denver Broncos?
What package?
Well, about his prowess as a football player.
Well, not as of yet, but I am prepping him with his pre, post, and halftime reports. I make him get in front of the camera, and we do a little report.
There you go.
So I am prepping him for, his football greatness, and so he's first got to get used to the media.
And I heard your giggle before, but we'll leave it go. Thank you very much. Anyhow, I'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06, Zeb at the Ranch. The way things were, the way things ought to be. God bless you, folks. We'll see you then.